Hello and welcome, everybody, to the latest episode of the Ramblings of Random Minds podcast. I'm your host, Alex Starrett, and this is my guest, Cailin.
Returning again, episode 4.
I feel like I'm forgetting the intro. Anyway, shall we dive into our first topic?
We shall.
I think we teased this a little bit last episode when we mentioned that we were between ethics and why is the world so lonely and why are phones taking over. Ethics. There are a bunch of questions that we came up with for ethics. The first one being,
would you steal the bread to save your family? I honestly, hey, you think that this is, very surface level? I agree, but, would you?
Depends on the need. If it was just, if somebody was gonna die if he didn't, yes.
Okay, but your whole family's starved. Would you steal the bread?
Yes. But I'd try and find another way than steal it before.
You have no money.
But, there's food banks.
You have no ingredients to make bread. The food bank's empty.
Yeah, then probably would.
I know, I probably would too. Is that within my morals?
Would you rather die or steal?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's not the ethical question. I've just been teasing him about that.
Finally, I get to ask the question, so you get to answer first.
Oh, no.
If humanity was expanding to other worlds, and let's say we're going to Mars to create a settlement there, and we found microorganisms living there, first alien life we've ever found, but there's already been plans made to colonize the planet, and these microorganisms would die if we colonize the planet. First of all, would humanity continue with the colonization?
Mm-hmm.
And second of all, should humanity continue with the colonization?
Humanity would, I think, in my opinion, humanity would continue with the colonization. Should they? Probably not. But, what are the forms of life?
Like microorganisms. So microorganisms, and we're on an overpopulated Earth, let's say, that...
Give me an example of a microorganism.
Like an amoeba. Like single-celled organism.
Okay, and we're saying, and should they?
Yes. Should they kill this new form of life, maybe take some to study, but, kill the majority of them, and build colonies when there is a need for colonies and to gain more resources for humanity? Should we?
Retrospectively, I would say no, but at the same time, it's I mean, if it's just microorganisms, I don't want to say what's the big deal, but it's if things like resources on this planet are becoming scarce and there's becoming too many people and the planet isn't becoming a good place to live, and Mars is a better option for a lot of people and will give more people a quality of life, why would we not? But then it's what gives us humans the power and authority to do something like that? Why do we feel like we would be able to just take control of another planet when there's other forms of life on it? I'd say it's a very conflicted answer. I don't know. It's a moral dilemma.
An ethical dilemma, as you could say.
Yeah, or an ethical dilemma.
As this is the topic. Would it make a difference if it was not an intelligent life form, but an animal instead of a microorganism?
Even then, I would probably say no. Because, as we've seen what humans will do to animals on this planet, I don't think it would bother them if they were impacting them on another planet. You know what I mean? We've destroyed their habitats and killed them and whatever. So I'm I don't feel it unless humans are faced with someone that's like equally superior, like as authoritative or like intellectually similar. I do not think that we will ever think that there's another being that's like superior to us. Like I think that humans just have like the ideology that like we're the top, we're superior type thing.
Why do you think we think that? Like why do we think that we're superior? Because really we're just another life form, and in reality we've been on this planet just as long, if not shorter, than every other animal here, and we have no way to prove that they're not intelligent.
We have no way to prove that they're not intelligent, but I think just humans, those other forms of life don't have the same, what's the word I'm looking for? Skills, I guess, that we do. Like, between all of us humans, first of all, there's more humans, I mean, I shouldn't say than trees, but compared to animals, there's lots of humans, big communities. Humans, we interact with each other. I'm not going to go interact with, like, a tree or an amoeba. I interact with humans. And we have claimed to have had the highest intelligence because of all the things we've done, which, I mean, I think is true. And humans have kind of continued to evolve and change things in society and modernize, but a lot of other species and, like, organisms really haven't. So maybe that, like, I don't know. Maybe that's why.
I feel like the majority of that, like, our humanity's main advantage is our ability to create technology and to communicate with others effectively. Those are the main advantages of humanity. But just because we can't do those things with others doesn't mean they're inferior. Like, we were at a state where a deer is, like, not that long ago, really.
Well, I wouldn't even say that. I think that it's like we are superior because we can kind of control and like manipulate those other like things. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like a tree can come and like, you know, ruin us or whatever, but like we can go cut it down. Like, we have the tools to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Like, we are just superior as in the fact that like we have control over all of these other like microorganisms and species, I guess, on the planet, whereas they don't have that kind of control over this.
I'm just gonna open my phone and check what the question that I was leading to was. Why do we as humans view ourselves as superior to other life, which we've already been
kind of covered. Do you have any thoughts about this?
Kind of like I said, that like we can't communicate with other life.
Yeah, no.
And we have the ability to overpower them because of our numbers and technology that we have. I feel like the main thing is that we don't understand other forms of life, but we do view them as like inferior because they can't do the things that we can do. And we can understand the things that they can do where it doesn't seem that they can. But just because we're superior, does that mean we have the right to enslave them? Or kill them for food? I mean,
well,
that's a tough subject.
I mean,
killing for food piece.
Having the right is like different. I feel like I don't think it's at the point where it's like having the right to. Because I mean, I feel like we have the rights to do certain things, we don't, but it's all kind of like based on human expectations, I guess, and morals. Like in national parks, you can't go cut down trees, but I could go cut down a tree if I wanted in my backyard. But I would say it's like kind of like, I don't know, what's the word? The level, I guess, to which you manipulate and control these other organisms is kind of up to each individual person's.
So something that everybody does is eat like steak, basically.
Yeah.
We basically breed cows to produce more meat and kill them. They're made to die.
Yes.
Should we be allowed to do that?
But it's like, who would be able to tell us, no, we can't? Like, the only higher form of power that people would listen to would be like a government or something, if they put a sanction on it. That's like the only way that people would stop doing that, is if it was like legitimately cut off from a higher power. I think that's like the only way. So if the government was like, no, then we literally can't do it. Like, it's against the law. But I don't, like, I people couldn't just stop doing that. Like, unless I think they're told or if there's rules.
Fair enough. If in, well, there I go with aliens again, but if aliens came, viewed us as inferior and did what we did to animals, we wouldn't like that.
No.
It's interesting because we do depend on like meat to survive. We need food, obviously, but it's an interesting question. Like, we view ourselves as superior because we think we're better. Are we better? Probably.
Yeah.
But that view of superiority, if it's with other humans or animals, is not really great, I feel like, because it can lead to us doing things that are like taking away the rights of animals or other humans because we think we're better than them.
I also think it's difficult because, like, when you really like sit here and think about it, it's like animals could live on this planet without us and they'd be fine, and trees would survive without humans, but can humans survive without trees and animals? No.
I mean, one type of animal wouldn't be able to survive without any other life either.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, could animals in themselves survive without humans? Yes. Yeah. Like, they don't rely on humans to live, whereas we rely on their resources to survive.
Yeah.
So.
But humans are only, like, one species. It's, like, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's weird.
Yeah. Did I have another question? I don't think I did. Shall we move on to the next subtopic?
Yes.
Technology is growing really fast. Mm-hmm. And what does that mean? Like, for example, in the past 20 years, we got iPhones. Everybody's on them. It's taken over the world, basically. What are we going to get in the next 20 years? And, like, in the grand total of things, like, if we're advancing, like, every 100 years, we develop a new groundbreaking technology, or, like, 100 years ago, we didn't even have computers.
Yeah.
Now we do. Now we're completely reliant on it. What are we going to do in another 100 years? And what does that, like, are we the fastest advancing civilization? Probably not. But
I think, I mean, I just think that the more technology advances, the lazier people will get.
Yeah.
And the less things that people have to do. AI, for example, one example would be like those cars that drive themselves, parallel park themselves. Technology is just a cop-out for humans having to do less for themselves.
But we made technology. So we don't need to, like...
We did develop it, but I'm like, I don't know. Like, there's at the rate it's advancing, it's just so that humans can do less.
That's fair.
Even computers that, like, typing an essay. Way faster for me to type an essay than for me to write it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not like I'm complaining about that. Love computers, but I'm just saying, at the rate it's advancing, humans are just going to have to do less and less of their own
Should we slow its advance? Like you're saying, like, it's making things very convenient for everything. And, like, with genetic engineering, there might be clones of humans or other animals very soon. Well, there's already clones of other animals.
Yeah.
Like, is that something that should happen?
Should technology slow down?
Because, like, it's good that's going so fast because we need a lot in this world.
Yeah.
But it's also not good because, like, we will not know when we've gone too far till after we've gone too far.
That's true.
So
I think, like, for an example of, like, a use of technology that I think has completely ruined something has been the use of, like, VAR in soccer. Like, that line imaging thing that they have going on. I think it has absolutely, like, ruined the game. Like, when you watch a game and it's like VAR check and it's like they're a millimeter offside. Like, I feel like that's a bit extreme. I don't know. Like, I feel like that's an instance when, like, I think it has gotten a bit too far. I think VAR is good for certain things, but in other ways, I'm like, no.
So, in, like, sports, like, for example, baseball, should there be an AI umpire that is always right? Personally, I think no.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
Because as much as not that I hate to say this, but as much as it's not really a good thing, getting mad at the ref is like a major part of sports.
It is.
Like, if you're not getting mad at the ref, like, who are you going to get mad at when the AI makes a wrong call? Like,
yeah, okay, that's true.
Or what you think is a wrong call, I should say.
Yes.
Because, like, it can't be wrong because it's programmed in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, it's interesting. So sports, you're saying, should be left alone with AI.
Yes. Well, not
technology.
Just technology, and I wouldn't say left alone, but I would just say in some instances it's a bit extreme.
What would be good for technology? Like, what good things for technology? How can technology be used for good in sports?
Okay, if I'm just thinking,
like, I mean, video review is...
Yeah, I think in certain instances when it's like, did the goal actually go in? Or was it actually a handball type thing? That's great. To be able to check those. But I don't know, like, just some instances when, like, he's a millimeter offside. Like, that would never be caught by the human eye. But, like, I don't know. Yeah, a lot of refs can still see handballs, so it's just nice to be, like, a backup. That they can actually check it.
Yeah. So, that sports is a fairly it's not a major, like, if, like, technology took over sports, it wouldn't be great.
No.
But if technology took over genetic engineering, let's say, or...
Yeah.
Like, work, everything that we do, like, when do we know that we've become too reliant on technology that we cannot do stuff ourselves? And how do we stop it before it gets to that point?
I mean, me, myself, I'm very reliant on technology.
I think everybody is.
Cut to an hour ago when I'm looking at podcast topics. Because I couldn't think of any. I mean, I think everyone uses technology because it's just convenient. And I think we brought this up in the last few episodes, too. But if technology keeps advancing in ways that makes life more convenient for us, people are just going to continue to use it. And since it's kind of like a societal norm to use technology, no one really frowns against people using it either. Like, it isn't like a bad thing that people utilize technology.
Do you think that technology will... Like, do you think that genetic engineering will be commonplace in 50 years? In humans, because in animals, I think it's already commonplace or becoming commonplace.
Genetic engineering, as in...
Like, either cloning or changing genes to get rid of certain traits.
That's a hard question. I don't know really where we're at with that in general right now. So... Like, I feel like I just can't answer that because I don't know where we're at in terms of the modernization and developments in that industry right now.
I think we have the ability to clone animals. I think it's been done before, and I think with CRISPR, we have the ability to change certain genes to get a theoretical... I don't know what the word would be, but...
Changing genes for what?
Like... getting rid of genetic disorders, like that would be an example. Like,
I think,
should we be able to do that? Should we be allowed to do that?
I mean, should we be allowed to do... I mean,
because we're able to, like, for the most
I mean,
part.
if you're able to, and it's able to improve someone's quality of life in the end of the day, if we're talking about genetic disorders, then, like...
But my counter argument to that is that a disorder happened for a reason. Either just like a disorder has been passed down for a reason.
But what type of disorder? Like, are we talking about like a terminal, like health related, like heart issue, or are we talking about like, being born and you're on the spectrum, or like what are you mean?
Would it make a difference? Both.
I think it would make a difference, actually. I think that if you're born with if you're like, whatever, you get your genes tested as like a fetus or whatever, and they find out you're going to have a terminal illness that gives you life expectancy of 4 years, and it's going to be a terrible 4 years. But if they alter the gene and you're able to live till 25 years and have a better quality of life, sure. But I think if you're born and, for example, I think that there's a lot of, like, stigma around this. Like, parents will find, like, they'll get the genes tested on their kid, and they'll find out that they have Down syndrome or something, and the parents are like, I don't want the kid anymore, or, like that. I think that that's, like, not okay. I wouldn't change the genes for that reason in the slightest. Like, what's the I don't know.
Yeah. That's...
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's, like, different if it's, like, we can change a gene in 25 years, whatever, but, like, if your kid's going to be on the spectrum or, I feel like that's a bad reason that you'd want to change a gene. What do you think about that?
I agree. Like, I think that if we have the ability to save someone's life by changing their genes, then yes, we should do that. Mm-hmm. Like, and if we have the ability to raise somebody's quality of life, possibly, but it also does change you. Like, your genes are what make you.
That's true.
You're not the same person that you were, which there's many implications to that we don't know. And for your example, like somebody with Down syndrome or some sort of genetic disorder like it, like, it's not for us to judge that if somebody's different from how we are, that they have a lower quality of life. No. Because really, that's not true. Mm-mm. So, it's... If it will raise the quality of life of the person, it's tough because it's not the same person after.
I think it needs to be, like, I also think it just depends on, like, because I think most, like, genetic kind of modifications happen when it's, like, when they're still a fetus, I think. I think it needs to be also, like, the decision needs to be made from, like, the right frame of mind. Like, if the parents want to change the genes to, like, improve the quality of life and blah, 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 probably will make a bit of sense. But if the parents just find out that their child, maybe will have a disability and want to change it so that their kid is deemed, like, normal, then I think that's, like, absolutely ridiculous. Like, I wouldn't even allow people to change genes if that's what they wanted to do. Seriously.
I 100%
You agree with that? Because I think what a lot of people would do with genetic testing is they're like, oh, we can change everything about our kids so that they're going to be perfect and normal, and we can alter this and alter that.
The problem with perfect and normal is that if everybody does that, then we have no genetic diversity.
Oh, no. Yeah, but that's what people want, because there's, like, this big stereotype and ideal of, like, what normal is in society. And, like, how do we even know what that is? Like, what is normal? Like, there's normal, I don't even think should be a word. Yeah. Like, define normal. Like, I'm like, I don't know what I would even say. Yeah. There isn't a normal.
Yeah, you're not normal, like, everybody is different, and that's what makes humanity better. Like, if we, like, really doing genetic engineering to fit people into a normal is really just making, like, discriminating against people who are not normal. Exactly. And making it even more, like, if you're made to be normal, then you're gonna look down upon those who aren't, because, like we said earlier, there's more of people like you, if that's humanity, or, like, people like you, like, from human to human, then you're going to think you're superior and look down upon those who aren't. And then we can't have, like, mutations, which could, the majority of the time, aren't really good, but sometimes, like, that's how evolution happens. If we're so stuck to perfect and normal, we're not going to evolve.
Yeah, I said with that, like, I don't know. I just think it needs to be done out of, like, the right frame of mind, and, like, it needs to be out of the thing of, like, this will give my child, like, a better quality of life. Yeah. If they do it. And I would say mainly at that point, it would be for, like, terminal conditions.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my opinion.
It's very interesting. Ethics is always very interesting.
Ethics is very interesting. Mm-hmm. It's very interesting.
Because there's not really a right answer.
There isn't. Like, it's just, there's no right. Because even it's like if you do something, it's like you could have still done the other. Like, there's drawbacks and positives to, all of the decisions. So it's like it's interesting.
Like, in the example of technology, like, do we advance at the rate we're advancing and risk the unseen consequences, but in turn save so many lives that we can save with this? Like, 100 years ago, we did not have vaccines to many major illnesses, and medicine has gotten so much better. Like, we're probably going to find equivalent things to that, maybe a cure for cancer or something along those lines if we keep at this rate. But also, if we keep at this rate, nobody will know how to do anything. We'll become reliant on technology and eventually probably become stagnant and possibly clone ourselves, which then we don't evolve and we're just stuck. So we advance fast now and then stop, but advancing fast will save people. So it's a very, very interesting ethical dilemma.
It really is.
I think we covered that topic
did.
well. What was next? Looking at my phone and again reliant on technology. Should there be a universal standard wage? That was one of the ones that we looked up. So, in my mind, that means, like, should there be a standard wage that everybody on this planet gets? And first of all, to pull that off, like, in terms of the economical point of view, like, the value of money is different everywhere, which would mean that you'd have one currency that has the same value everywhere. But really, that's not super possible. So it's...
Okay. I think that this one, you and I might have different answers based on what we talked about earlier. I do not think that there should be a universal standard wage. Why do I think this? First of all, I think, the main reason I think I have is that the universal standard wage may be different in Africa than it would be in Switzerland, and it would be. So it's like inflation's different everywhere. Like, even in Canada, you can look at somewhere like Calgary, Vancouver, Toronto. They're going to be expensive cities to live in, compared to somewhere like in the Yukon, probably will be a lot cheaper. So it's like you need to have different wages based on inflation and the cost of living. So it's like if that was universal, I don't know how they would kind of differentiate and counter for inflation in those areas. Because then it's like, why should I be making less just because someone in an Asian country is making less? Or, like, making the same as me. Like, you know what I don't know how to explain it.
My counter to that is that if everybody's making the same... I know nothing about economics.
Okay.
So
I don't really either. I've taken 2 classes, and here we are.
Like, this... I could be completely wrong about this. But if everybody's making the same wage, wouldn't the demand be the same? Like, sure, different things will be in higher demand. But everybody is, like... You would think that the price of food would be the same in Canada than it is in India. because everybody's making the same amount of money, and therefore the demand is like everybody can only pay this much.
I don't think so, because like I don't. If I think about me being in Canada right now, and I go and buy a meal and it's $15, and then I go to Asia, I could get a meal there for probably similar meal, $5, and then maybe I go to the U.S. and it's $20. Like, currency is a whole other thing you have to factor into this, and the currency exchange. I mean, if you had a universal wage, I don't know if that's meaning that there would also be a universal currency, or if currencies would somehow be factored into it. Like, I don't know.
I would imagine that there'd be a universal currency if there's a universal wage. Because, like, if you're getting paid $20 as opposed to 20 Canadian dollars, like, that's not really, in my mind, universal because there's such a difference.
Yeah,
like,
there is.
Canadian dollars are like $1.30 of American or something like that. So, I feel like that'd balance out though, because everybody would have equal demand. I don't know.
But even then, it's like I think about it, like everyone's getting paid the same. But is it just like a universal, like everyone just gets paid the same?
Yeah.
I also disagree with that. Why should, like, if you've gone through years and years of education, why should you be getting the same as someone who's maybe just out in high school and has a job? That makes zero sense to me. Because obviously someone who's older and has had years of education should be making more money.
That's
and
fair.
will have more bills that they need to pay off. So it's like, why should I be making the same as someone who doesn't have the education, doesn't have the experience, and doesn't have the financial responsibilities that you do?
I feel like having a universal standard wage would not work in the world today for like a couple of reasons. One being that we don't have a universal government, so we would not have a universal currency, and people would not agree upon that at all. The other being like what you said is that you have to pay more to get education or pay more for this and that.
Yeah.
Like, if we have a universal standard wage, like, in my mind, we live in a world that, like, education is, like certain things are free, like education, and, like, you can do things that you want to do, and then... But then you don't need money if everything's provided, so...
I was also going to say, I don't think it would be fair to have a universal, like, wage, I guess, especially if there wasn't a universal currency or universal government. I don't know how they would differentiate the difference between how much of your paycheck is going towards taxes. Like, I know in Canada, we have certain responsibilities and certain payments we have to make as taxpayers, and they might be higher. And then even based on what province you're living in, taxes are different. And the taxes we pay in Canada are very different than the taxes that someone pays in Italy versus Asia, or it's going to be different everywhere. So I also think it would be unfair to have a universal wage if I'm, say, living in Canada and 30% of my paycheck goes towards paying taxes, but then say someone in China maybe only 10%. So it's like they're able to save more money, so it's like, why would I not have the same right as them?
I feel like for this to work is, first of all, for anything universal, you have to have some, like, we're never going to have anything universal between all of Earth unless we have a universal government, which I don't see happening anytime in the next 1,000 years. But I don't think that this would work in today's age, because we would need, like, something, like, added, like, money wouldn't make sense if everybody's getting paid the same, because really it's like, you have 6 choices and you can only pick 3. That's, like, kind of what it would turn into, and, like, so it just wouldn't really make sense, I don't think.
No, and, like the more even in Canada, minimum wage in every province is different, just because they're countering in for, like, inflation and cost of living. So it's like you'd have to differentiate between districts in a nation, and then the nation itself from other nations. Like, like, unless it was like the Earth started and this was the system we've been brought up in, they could never just in like the span of a day be like, oh, we're gonna change everything to universal. And I also think it would just like, I don't know, I think it would impede like nation's sense of like diversity and like I think it would be more of like a method kind of following globalization too, where it's just everything's kind of becoming the same and there's no sense of like national identity anymore.
Yeah, just like assimilated into the universal world.
Even then it's like, would there even be countries at that point? Yeah. Or would it just be like I don't know, I feel like when you go traveling and everyone's from different places, but if everything's kind of universally run, then it's like, what is your identity? Like, what is your ethnicity and national identity? That's a whole other topic.
Yeah. It'd be interesting in like 500 years if that would matter as much as it does now. Mm-hmm. Like, being different from other people or being, like, it is human nature to be tribal and, like, I am like these people, I am not like these people.
Yeah, exactly.
And in general, I think it's safe to say that that's not really a good thing, but it is human nature that happens, and
to want to fit in.
We would lose a lot if we'd lose a lot. Like, diversity is our strongest suit, or strongest attribute of humanity is our diversity. Mm-hmm. So not like having everything universal, a universal currency, like it wouldn't really work. I don't think
so.
I think we covered that one extensively.
Yeah, we did.
Once again on my phone. Is climate change the biggest threat to humanity? Biggest threat to humanity in human history?
As of current day, I would say, yeah, it's a pretty big threat. Are there other things going on? Like world hunger? Sure. But
you could argue that's due to climate change, though.
That's true. You could argue that. I do think climate change is the biggest threat that the world together is facing. Like, obviously there's different issues going on with different socioeconomic groups and different nations, but I think in terms of like a global population, I think it's a pretty big threat.
That's fair. Would there be a bigger threat in human history, current or past?
I mean, the wars weren't great.
Like nuclear annihilation, probably. It's more instantaneous.
The Holocaust, also.
But that's not. I'm not to downplay the Holocaust at all, but it's not a threat to all of humanity. Like, climate change.
That's true. That's true.
Earth and all life on it. I think nuclear war could also do that if it got too extreme. I think I'd hope that we could trust humans to not kill the whole planet.
Yeah, like, I think that
quickly, anyway, slowly we can...
Because, like, World War I impacted lots of, countries, but even then, like, was it... I mean, I guess I would say that's, like, a pretty global thing to go on. Mm-hmm. But, right now, in terms of, like, things that we're facing together as a planet, I would say it's probably the biggest concern we should have. But, I'm like... I think so.
Yeah. I feel like, in my mind, severity levels of, like, biggest threats are, like, can something wipe out some of humanity or a specific nation? That's pretty high. But can something wipe out everything on Earth? That's the
true.
max.
And climate change could.
And, like, I think the difference between nuclear war or nuclear annihilation and climate change is that climate change is slow compared to nuclear annihilation could be fast. Climate change being slow means we don't necessarily notice it on the day-to-day, making it less of a worry. Nuclear annihilation, somebody could press a button accidentally and destroy the whole world. So, I think those are the two contenders in my mind for the biggest threats to humanity ever.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I feel like climate change is possibly one of the biggest threats because it doesn't feel like a threat as much as it actually is.
That's true. think some people think it is, but a lot of people are oblivious.
But, like, we think it is. But do we do anything about it?
No.
Not really. Because we don't see it as a big a threat as it is. And even if it was going to annihilate everything on Earth in 100,000 years, we're not going to be around in 100,000 years personally. No. Like, it's very interesting.
It really is. It really is. Okay, do we have another question?
Not necessarily an ethical question. Kind of moving to...
This one's random?
Yeah. Okay. This is the last one. Oh man, I just lost it. I'm gonna check my phone because my goodness, I should really stop doing this. Anyway, what is a perfect world / society / what is a utopia?
The utopian society question. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. Oh my gosh. Like, okay, what are we talking about? Like me right now being like, what would make my world so great?
In my mind, it's more like general society, like not like personal utopia, but like humanity's utopia.
Okay, because I have a lot of personal utopian fantasies.
You could say those too, like.
But in terms of like a global, that's kind of hard. Okay, okay? I would want to. Oh my gosh. Okay, what would I want to do? I would, in a perfect world, want to make everything accessible for everybody. I would want to...
Accessible meaning like accessible, like education accessible?
Everything.
Okay.
Everything. 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 I would want to implement a lot more support for, like, the homeless populations. And, like, provide them with a lot more, like, resources and stuff to help them, like, you know, get jobs and become educated and that kind of stuff. I did a project on that, like, 2 years ago, I think. Where, like, well, a lot of the reason that the homeless population continues to stay homeless is because they don't have any of the skills needed to even, like, build a resume or anything. Mm-hmm. So I would like to provide them with support so that we can, like, reduce that population. It would be sweet. I'd want to, like, reduce just general, like, disparity between, like, for, like, minority groups and people with disabilities and people of, like, the LGBTQ population. Like, I think that there's a lot of, like, discrimination towards those groups. Why do we need that? I don't know. I don't want that in my utopian world. Yeah. I don't know. Disparity in, like, terms of just kind of everything for them, I think. Ooh, this is a really good question. You go, and then I'll think of some more stuff.
I kind of have a question for you before.
Oh, okay. I'll take a question.
How would we do that? Like, would the world being unified, would that be in this utopia? Like, is that really a utopia if the world is unified? Like, I would imagine...
I don't want it to be unified in the sense that it's like... I think that there just needs to be, like, kind of like a standard, you know, not like requirement, but like a standard, like, like almost like just like morals, I guess, that everyone, instead of understanding and people are educated to kind of understand how to do those things that I mentioned.
Yeah.
I would say I don't want everyone to be unified, and I don't want there to, like, not be a sense of self. But I think in terms of, like, accessibility and disparity and helping out, you know, minority populations, I think that there needs to be, like, a general global understanding and, you know, like, education, I guess, on how we can, you know, improve those areas.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I don't think it needs to be a unified sense, but I think just, like, people need to be more educated about it. Because I think right now there is a lack of education in those areas.
I would say that first things are probably cure world hunger.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm thinking, like, Star Trek. What is, like, Star Trek is basically an utopia, so I'm thinking that. Like, cure world hunger, I don't think having like the nation of Earth would be good, but we have
No.
Everybody would have to cooperate in some regard.
Mm-hmm.
But not with everything. Like culture, we don't need the culture of Earth because there's so many different cultures in Earth. So cure world hunger, get rid of poverty, like completely, would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
How?
It's a utopian society.
Yeah.
We don't need to focus on the how.
Fair enough. Get rid of poverty. Get rid of greed as well. Like wanting, or not that greed. Okay, maybe not get rid of greed, but get rid of the only way to gain power is by giving, is by taking away power from other people, which is basically greed. But that. In my mind, currency wouldn't need to exist in this utopia because that creates so many inequalities.
Mm-hmm.
Diversity and what we would consider now lesser traits are definitely in this. I think free education would be and freedom to choose what type of education you need. The problem with that is what age would we decide?
That's true.
Do we want to do this? Do we want to do that? Basically, what age would we stop forcing kids or people to learn everything?
Yes. Fair enough.
Or even forcing people to learn. Because
that's true.
I feel like you do need to learn. That's another question. Like, should we force people to learn if we live in a society that we don't need anything?
What do you mean don't need anything?
We don't need to learn to get a job, to get food or shelter, or we have everything. We have our basic necessities provided and most of our wants provided. Should we be forced to learn?
For you, that's difficult because in your society, if you want to get rid of the power dynamic, then it's a lot of people kind of strive to be someone of power or, financial dominance or whatever. So it's if they don't have anything to really strive for, then I don't know.
Yeah. I'm sure humanity would find things to go for. And how would we get rid of greed too? Humanity just changes its mindset probably. Because right now it's you're either powerful or you're not. And even it's not necessarily military power or political power, but just money power even. I have, you don't have.
Exactly.
For example,
I would want to get rid
of
racism. Speaking about us and them and da-da-da. I don't want that. I don't want racism and I don't want discrimination in my utopian society.
But in order to have us and them, in order to have diversity, there must be us and them. In order to have difference...
I mean us and them in terms of racism.
Yeah.
But diversity, whatever.
How do we prevent discrimination or othering with a diverse society?
The thing is, I'm taking a class on this. I think that, it all kind of stems from years ago and colonization and European dominance, and that's just kind of the mindset now that people kind of have. So I don't know how you'd go about kind of changing a global mindset, and people kind of just consider that to be right.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I would actually go about changing that. Other than educating people and whatever, but if that's just kind of what.
But even telling people this is bad doesn't mean they're gonna believe it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's you can educate someone to a certain point, but
it's interesting. I feel like society has its own morals and beliefs, and that those can change, but, like, it takes a lot of time to do that. And, like, what would make... Because right now, it's like, in order to be comfortable and happy, you must be better than others. And that's, I feel like, comes from what you said, like, I don't know what the right word is, but European settlers.
Yeah.
Coming in and developing that mindset that, like, we have more, so we're going to take you over. But, like, it's... what would it take to change that mindset to...
But, okay.
I was going somewhere with that, but then I lost it.
But then it's like you think, like... I don't know, because some things are just instilled, like I'm sure most of the global population has something instilled in them that it is wrong to go into a grocery store with a gun and shoot somebody.
Yeah.
Like, that is, like, not okay. Like, morally, like, that's not what you do. People know that that's wrong, but it's like, why do we think that? It's like, why have I been raised to think that that is wrong?
Is it a matter of being raised to think that, or is it a matter of being human and innately knowing that?
But some people might think that's okay.
But do people think that's okay, or do people think that...
Not if it's okay, but some people will do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what differentiates our morals? And, like, that's an example. Like, that's, like, an extreme example, but...
Yeah.
But people... I don't know, like, I feel like some people just, like, we all have different morals, but it's like, where are all of our morals originating from?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like, some people might have morals. I'm trying to think of, like, an example that's a bit more, like, conflicting between people.
I wonder if some morals are, like, instinctual. If some morals, like, we just know and don't need to be taught. Or if everything we learn.
Well, exactly. You just have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of an example of something that it's like, I might think this, but someone might think that that's okay. Like cheating on an exam. Not to say in 4 years of online school I haven't. But, like, I might think it's... no, I'm not going to out myself here.
I feel like you already have.
I know, I already... Okay, no, I'm not saying, like... Okay, online school, a lot of the tests have been open books. So it's not like I'm, like, going against, you know, whatever. But... Like, it's... Okay, for example, I think nowadays that this actually is something. A lot of people will be like, I think it's okay to have ChatGPT write a paper for me, and I'll just change a few words, and that's fine. But I might be like... I would be like, no way would I ever do that.
Yeah.
So, like, you know what I mean? It's like, why did they think that that's okay, and why do I think that's wrong? So, that's a whole other thing of, like, in this utopian society, it's like, how would you go about controlling people's, like, morals and, like, raising society to think that certain things like discrimination, like racism, like, you know, eliminating disparity that minority groups face, how would you go about altering their morals and perspectives to, like, somewhat have a global, be on the same page globally? I don't know how you would do that, because morals are such a weird thing. It's like, I don't know how you come to, like, why do I think the things I do? I do not know.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like the thing that we're trying to do now is, like, how do we control people to do this? I feel like humanity as a whole just needs to kind of come to that. We can't push it along, sadly.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not really a happy note to end on, but I feel like we should, unless you have anything else.
I don't have anything else to add.
Like, I feel like we just need to give humanity time to... It's weird, because I feel like everybody knows that killing is bad, stealing is bad. Like,
but why do we think that?
I feel like we just innately know that. Like, as humans, we instinctually know that doing something is, like, killing, for example. Like, killing is bad because it hurts other people. Like, we...
But then again, it's like, with those things, it's like, there are rules. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, there are going to be consequences if you do steal. Or if you do shoot someone, like, there's going to be consequences. But there's certain things that you can do that there might not be consequences. And there's certain things you can believe and there might not be consequences, but why does it make that morally okay to think? It's all confusing. Yeah. Morals are confusing.
Yeah. Morals, values, who knows if they're learned, if they're instinctual. Who knows?
It's a tricky.
I think but like I feel like everybody on this planet knows that killing is bad. Like,
it's because there's rules against it, though.
But even without it, like, sure, people would do it, but they would still. That's fair. Like, if there weren't rules, people would do it because of something. They would not just, like, oh, I'm gonna kill or steal just for fun. Like, everybody on this planet can, to some degree, understand, like, have empathy for what they're doing. Like, killing is bad. Yeah. I don't know. I think
it's confusing.
Yeah. Morals and values are confusing.
Yeah.
I think we'll end there. That might be the title of the podcast. We'll see.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And I'm trying to come up with an outro, like keep rambling or something. I don't know. Yeah. Please like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, thank you for watching.